Just imagine you are a boy, and one day you wake up in a girl's body. You live the life of that girl for one day, and when you fall asleep again, you forget everything that happened. When you try to find that girl, you discover that she doesn't even exist in your time. Let's dive into the incredible 2016 anime movie, Your Name. The story begins with a girl named Miki, who wakes up from a dream she can't remember. Then, she has breakfast with her younger sister and grandmother. On the news, they hear about an upcoming comet that will pass over their city, an event that happens every 12 years. Her father, once a temple priest, is running for mayor. Later, while she is on her way to school, her friends tease her, saying, "Looks like you've finally come to your senses today." She finds everything strange. In her notebook, it's written, "Who are you?" Her friends tell her that yesterday she was acting really weird, and on top of that, she hadn't even tied her hair. Later, Miki and her younger sister perform a traditional dance for their grandmother at the temple. They also follow a custom of chewing rice and storing it to ferment into sake. Miki does not like her life in the village and dreams of moving to Tokyo. Frustrated, she shouts, "I hate my life. In my next life, make me a smart boy from Tokyo." Then, the scene cuts to the apartment of a boy named Ted, who lives in Tokyo, but it is actually Miki in Ted's body. She feels like this is all just a dream. She gets ready and goes to school, where she meets Ted's friends. She feels confused, but Ted's friends invite her to the cafeteria, which makes her quite happy. She learns that she will also have to go to work. Ted works as a waiter in a restaurant, and that's when Miki meets Jenny there, who Ted used to like. The next morning, Ted returns to his own body. Like Miki, he doesn't remember anything. The people around him behave strangely with him. Here, we learn that whenever Ted and Miki sleep, they switch bodies, but the next day, neither of them remembers anything. As time passes, the people around them start to make them realize that they were different yesterday and today, leading them to understand that they are not just dreaming but actually switching bodies. Along with this, they start leaving notes for each other so they can figure out what they did the previous day. Miki arranges a date for Ted with Jenny. When Miki wakes up the next day in her own body, she feels bad for herself. She begins to develop feelings for Ted, while Ted also doesn't show much interest in his date. Today is the day the comet is supposed to appear. Miki goes with her friends to see the comet, while on the other side, Ted tries to call Miki using the numbers he found in the notes, but her number is unreachable. Ted also starts developing feelings for Miki, but after that day, their bodies no longer switch. Ted is an expert in sketching. Using his skills, he creates several skill sketches of the village. 2 weeks later, he sets off with his friends and Jenny to search for Miki. But despite searching for a long time, they can't find the village. Exhausted, they rest at a restaurant. There, the chef sees Ted's sketch and tells them that the village is called Itomori. Then, they discover a shocking truth. 3 years ago, a piece of the comet had crashed onto Itomori, causing the entire town to be destroyed. When Ted visits the location, he finds a massive crater where the village once stood. When Ted looks at the records of the village, he can't believe his eyes. The girl he had been switching bodies with just 2 weeks ago had actually died 3 years ago. Jenny notices a ribbon in Ted's hand, on which Ted explains, "3 years ago, I met a girl I didn't even know. She gave me this." The next day, Ted leaves a note for Jenny and his friends and sets out on his own. He heads to the village temple, where amidst the ruins, he finds the same sake made from the rice Miki had chewed. Ted drinks the alcohol and begins to see glimpses of Miki's past. He witnesses the struggles she endured, including the loss of her mother during her childhood and her father abandoning the family to pursue a career in politics as a mayoral candidate. In the very next scene, Ted finds himself in Miki's body. He immediately warns her grandmother about the comet. But upon hearing this, her grandmother quickly realizes that it's not Miki but someone else in her body. The grandmother reveals that such things used to happen to Miki's mother as well and advises him not to bother, as no one would believe him about the comet. Despite this, Ted doesn't give up and tries his best to convince everyone to leave the town immediately. However, no one believes him despite his repeated efforts. In the evening, he meets Miki's younger sister. Here, we learn that a day before the comet strikes, Miki had traveled to Tokyo to meet Ted, but because it was 3 years ago, Ted doesn't recognize her. However, Miki gives Ted her ribbon. Yes, viewers, this is the same ribbon that Ted had mentioned earlier when talking to Jenny. On the other hand, Miki enters Ted's body and becomes deeply saddened when she sees the ruined state of the village. Both Ted and Miki are standing on a mountain peak, and at that moment, they can see and touch one another. They are in their own bodies at that moment. Ted returns the ribbon to Miki. He writes his name in Miki's hand, but just as Miki is about to write her own name, she disappears into her own time, and Ted forgets everything that happened there. When Miki looks at her hand, she sees "I love you" written on it. Miki uses all her strength to save all the villagers, creating a new timeline. Several years pass, and Ted still feels lost, always searching for something. Miki, having escaped the incident, has moved to Tokyo. One day, both see each other on a train but are unable to meet. Later, they meet on a set of stairs but still don't recognize each other at first. Then Ted says to her, "We've met before." Hearing this, tears well up in Miki's eyes. In the end, Ted asks Miki, "What's your name?" And with that, the movie comes to a beautiful end. If you enjoyed the story, share your favorite part in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Film Flare.